ॐ विश्वं दर्पणदृश्यमाननगरी तुल्यन्निजान्तर्गतं पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिरिवोद्भूतं यथा निद्रया यः साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयं तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये बीजस्यान्तरिवाङ्कुरो जगदिदं प्राङ्निर्विकल्पं पुनः मायाकल्पितदेशकालकलना वैचित्रचित्रीकृतं मायावीव विजृम्भयत्यपि महायोगी वयस्वेच्छया तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः 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 सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् ॐ Verse 39. Samutthayaish bhutebhyah तान्यवानुविनश्यति विस्पष्टमिति मैत्रेय्यै याज्ञवल्क्य उवाचहि. So Vidyaranya is establishing a abhasavada prakriya which is employed in Vedantic teaching. There are other prakriyas also, avachedavada etc., pratibimbavada etc. Well, this why do we employ these prakriyas, models? Well, in order to define Jiva and Ishvara. And in that, we said also that this reflected consciousness, which is a Vyavaharika Satyam, and there is a original consciousness also, which is quite distinct from this reflection. So this reflected consciousness is called Chidabhasa or Abhasa. Based on that, it is Abhasavada Prakriya. And that naturally it is a Abhasa, then it is definitely a Mithya. Now, and Vidyaranya gives Shruti support also to point out that this Abhasavada has a backing of the Shruti. And that Shruti statements are basically, they are called Anupravesha Shruti. Entry into the bodies. The Brahman or Atma enters into the body after creating that. So where do it enters? Well, it in the mind. It enters in the mind. And if it enters in the mind, well, it is a reflection. Why it is a reflection? And because entry is a formation of reflection only. No entry is possible for the Atma, the consciousness which is all pervading. It has already entered everywhere. In fact, there is nothing other than that. And therefore, there is no real entry. Still, our Shruti talks about entry of Atma or Brahman into the body or into the mind now, specifically. Well, it is nothing but the formation of a reflection, Chidabhasa. So, Brahman entered into the mind, as Pratibimba Chaitanyam, formation of reflection. Like we gave an example also that, the sun basically enters the bowl of water, etc., well, as a reflected sun. So this is a first pramanam, Pravesha Shruti, from Brihadaranyaka Upanishad as well as Taittiriya Upanishad. Then Vidyaranya quotes Aitareya Upanishad Vakyam also. And here, why he quotes another Aitareya Vakya? Because in Taittiriya and Brihadaranyaka Upanishad very not clearly said. Because there it is Tat Sushtra Tadevanu Pravishat in Taittiriya. Everything is created and Brahman entered, jumped into the creation. So it is not specifically told that Brahman entered into the mind, etc. Well, whereas in Aitareya Upanishad, initially in the first two sections, the creation has been talked about, including creation of the subtle body, etc., mind, etc. And then Brahman entered. then definitely we can say the Brahman entered into the mind. And that entry is nothing but the formation of reflection. And therefore, the very clear, pointing out of Chidabhasa is very clear. It is very clear in Aitareya Upanishad. Anyway, and thereafter he takes a Shruti Vakyam taken from Brihadaranyaka Upanishad in verse 39, where Yajnavalkya said to Maitreyi about arrival and departure of a Chaitanyam, and that is that cannot be with regards to the consciousness, Atma. There cannot be an arrival or there cannot be a departure at all of the consciousness, the Chit or Brahman, because it is eternal, all pervading, and therefore there is no question of arrival and departure. Still, Yajnavalkya said that etebhya bhutebhya samuthaya tani eva anuvinashyati. That is in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad 4.5.13. So, and also it is in that section na pretya sanya asti. So, etebhya bhutebhya, from this bhutas, sukshma sharira, sukshma mahabhutas, samuthaya, the consciousness emerges. Tani eva, following that. So, along with that, tani, panchabhutani, along with that sukshma mahabhutas, along with the mind, anuvinashyati, and that consciousness dies, resolves also. And this another statement, na pretya sanya asti, there is no consciousness after death. So this kind of this consciousness is something different, because our consciousness is eternal, all pervading, whereas this consciousness emerges with the sukshma bhutas, resolves with the sukshma bhuta, and there is no consciousness after death. So consciousness is non-eternal. So this is another type of consciousness. So Upanishad clearly talks about this other consciousness, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, which appears and disappears. Naturally, this consciousness must be other than our original consciousness, Brahman, etc. And therefore, this consciousness must be Chidabhasa. So, we are saying to this Avachedavadi, you are negating Abhasvada, Chidabhasa, etc. is not mentioned in the Shruti, and therefore, why are you imagining Chidabhasa, etc.? There is a reference. So, why do you negate Abhasa? Because there is a Shruti Pramana for that, and therefore, and based on that only we are talking about Abhasavada. So, etebhya bhutebhya. Bhutebhya, you have to take it as a vachyartha as such. Bhutebhya means all this from these Mahabhutas. But Lakshartha you have to basically take, because from these gross elements the consciousness emerges, we can't say. So therefore, Pancha Mahabhuta Sukshma Sharirebhya. So we have to take the subtle Mahabhutas. So it's a Lakshartha. So Bhutebhya means elements. But the elements, that's a general meaning. So in that, we have to take a Lakshartha, implied meaning, from these subtle elements, consciousness emerges. Means from the mind, consciousness emerges. That is Chidabhasa. And when only Sthula Sharira is there, then consciousness will not be there. Then, definitely, like in a dead body, we can say. So there is no experienced consciousness. And so, na pretya sanya asti. There is no consciousness after death. So that is this Chidabhasa. So along with the reflecting medium, the mind and or the subtle body, it emerges, and subtle body, etc. resolves. This consciousness also resolves. This is we have seen in Dardisha Viveka also very well. The relationship between the consciousness and the mind. The relationship between the mind, the relationship between the mind and the consciousness, the relationship between mind and the body, the relationship between mind and Chidabhasa. Three relationships we have already seen in Dardisha Viveka. We have discussed already. And there I said, relationship of mind with the Chidabhasa, definitely it is a Sahaja Tadatmyam. Sahaja Tadatmyam means, definitely they go along. So as a subtle body emerges, not the mind emerges, Chidabhasa will be there. As the mind resolves, Chidabhasa will be resolved. So because it's a reflecting medium. Therefore, Chidabhasa, they have a very Sahaja Tadatmyam. So Tani eva anu, Panchabhutani eva anu, Panchabhuta Vikara Bhuta Sukshma Sharirani anu. Anu means following that or along with that. Well, Tani eva anu vinashyati. So if Panchabhutas or the Sukshma Sharira or the mind resolves, well, consciousness resolves. And that's an example. Is our deep sleep state itself is an example for that. So no experience possible then. So Tani here, Panchabhutani here, and especially we have to take it as a Sukshma Sharirani or Antakkaranani. So that is Tani is a Dvitiya Bahuvachanam. Tani eva anu vinashyati. Chidabhasaha vinashyati. Or consciousness dies, resolves. Tani, Sukshma Sharirani anu, along with, or Pashat. So RC also disappears. Iti Yajnavalkya Maitreyai Uvacha. This is what Yajnavalkya said to Maitreyi in 4.5.13. It is there. And Maitreyi Brahmana, as I told you, it appears at two places in Bridhanaka Upanishad. Maitreyi seems to be a very VIP for lady. So, here the second chapter, fourth section, Maitreyi Brahmana. Fourth chapter, fifth section also is Maitreyi Brahmana. Nobody has got such a privilege to ask questions to Yajnavalkya other than Maitreyi. Even in that court of all these learned people, Maitreyi asked a question also, and before also that is there in that. So Vispashtam, Yajnavalkya Maitreyi Vispashtam Uvacha. Very clearly Yajnavalkya said. Why said Vispashtam? Why clearly? Well, because Maitreyi raises this question. That you seem to, oh Yajnavalkya, you seem to confuse me. Because one time you say Chaitanya perishes, and at the other time you say it doesn't perish. So therefore you are contradicting yourself. Then Yajnavalkya clarifies that I am talking about two types of consciousnesses. One is a Janya Chaitanyam, other is a Ajanya Chaitanyam. So, Samuthaya eva bhutani, Samuthaya esha bhutani, Tani eva no vinashyati. That indicates a Janya Chaitanyam. Emerges along with the mind or Sukshma Sharira and resolves along with the mind, etc. So that is Janya Chaitanyam. And Ajanya Chaitanyam also is there. In that later section itself, in later mantra itself, Yajnavalkya talks. Anyway, so and that is coming in verse number 40 is quoting. And so that is this mantra which talks about Samuthaya esha bhutebhyaha tani eva anuvinashyati. It is 4.5.13. And in 4.5.14, Yajnavalkya says, well, Avinashi ayam Atma. This Atma is Avinashi. So, so therefore, it doesn't emerge, does not dissolve. It is indestructible. It doesn't appear, does not go away. So, that is a contradiction. We have clear contradiction. So, well, that is Ajanya Chaitanyam. That is consciousness or Atma. And this is Chidabhasa, definitely. Therefore, Chidabhasa is indicated very clearly by Yajnavalkya. Therefore, Abhasavada, we can talk about Abhasavada. That's what we are saying to Avachedavadi. Ajanya Chaitanya, even in Drigdusha Viveka also we saw. Na udeti, nastameti, esha samvit swayam prabha. Na udeti, nastameti, which never rises, never resolves. Esha samvit swayam prabha. That also we have seen in Drigdusha Viveka. Anyway, but here 4.5.13 and 4.5.14 talks about two types of Chaitanyam. 4.5.13 talks about Chidabhasa, Janya Chaitanyam. 4.5.14 talks about Atma, Avinashi Atma. Verse number 40. Avinashyayam kutastha pravivechitah matra samsarga ityevam asangatvasya kirtanat. Avinashi, are ayam asti, ayam Atma asti, Avinashi. So, Yajnavalkya says Atma is Avinashi. Now compare 4.5.13. This Atma is Anu Vinashyati. Bhutani eva Anu Vinashyati. Here it says Atma is Avinashi. So that is how Between two mantras, Yagnavalkya definitely has done a viveka. Kutastha pravivechitaha. He clearly distinguished the Kutastha, the Atma, the Brahman, from Chidabhasa. Very clearly. So if it is at a different, like if I quote Drigdrishya Viveka for Avinashi Atma, and then for Chidabhasa, if I go to Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, then nobody will accept. But in a subsequent mantra itself, in 4.5.13, one type of consciousness. 4.5.14 talks about another type of consciousness, very distinct. One is destructible, one is indestructible. Therefore, definitely there are two. And what is indestructible and what is indestructible, we can easily understand from Pravesha Shruti. Anyway, so Kutastha pravivechitaha, distinction. V plus which dhatu? From that word Viveka also has come. So pravivechitaha, well, clearly distinguished, contrasted, distinguished, etc., clearly discriminated from Chidabhasa. What? Kutastha. Matra asamsarga iti kirtanat. Other Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, well, 4.3.15. So, there it says matra asamsarga tu asya bhavati. The word matra samsarga you see, but there you have to take matra asamsarga. Matra means what? Tan matras, panchabhutas, sukshmahabhutas. Matra sparshastu kaunteya, shitoshna sukha dukkhadaha. So there, matra means indriyas. Matra sparsha means perception. So matra miyate anena iti matra, by which you measure the world. So senses are the one which measures the world. This measures the forms and colors. This measures the sounds. Everything is there in the creation. But this measure a part of it. This also measure a part of it. So matra. Sparshaha. Contact with the senses. Perception. But anyway, here matra samsarga. Matra means tanmatra, sukshma bhutas. There very matras, sparshaha, there matra we take clearly, not just sukshma bhutas, we take indriyas. Of course, along with the mind. So matra asamsarga. Matra is panchamahabhutas, basically that is tanmatras, or sukshmahabhutas, or sukshma sharira, or mind, either. Asamsarga. Samsarga, sangaha. Asamsarga, asangaha. So matra asamsarga iti. Brihadaranyaka Upanishad iti shows a quotation. Matra asamsarga. So Brihadaranyaka Upanishad talks about matra asamsarga. No, this Atma, Avinashi Atma, the Kutastha, has no samsarga, has no sanga, has no association with the mind. Clear? And therefore, that is, Upanishad talks about, definitely this is another consciousness. Because between the mind and the Chidabhasa, reflected consciousness, there is all the time association. You cannot separate them. Whereas here it says matra asamsarga. There is no contact at all, no association with the mind. Definitely then this is not Chidabhasa, this is another type of consciousness, that is Kutastha. Sakshi has no, because it is, for Sakshi it is mithya. There is no contact between a rope and snake. What is the contact? That's how, where in Drigdrishya Viveka we discuss this also. The mind and the Atma, the Sakshi, has what kind of a relationship? Then we should say Ajnanajam. Ajnanajam relationship. It is born of that there is a relationship between the mind and Atma, or the I. So I am angry, etc. Why? You don't have any association with the anger vritti. But still you put this together, Ajnanajam. Because Atma is Asangaha, which is Satyam, which has no relation with any mithya thing. It is just an appearance. It doesn't add anything. Any mithya thing cannot add anything to Satyam. And even if it goes away, it cannot subtract anything. No addition, subtraction. Therefore, it is dekha. It is just mithya. It is just an appearance. So for that, this basically Kutastha or the Sakshi has no association with the matra, with the mind. So this is in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. So this is how, by this expression, Vidyaranya says asangatvasya kirtanat. Upanishad talks about another type of consciousness which is asanga. Kirtanat. It sings, it talks about. because of Brihadaranyaka Upanishad talks about this asangatvam of this kutastha. So the two features have been talked about here of this another consciousness. Nityatvam, because it is avinashi in the first line, and the second line talks about asangatvam. So these two features have been talked about. So this is therefore this consciousness which is mentioned in 4.5.14. Well, that consciousness is Sangha and also Avinashi means Nitya, etc. Now, the thing is, if you see Matra Asamsargaha iti, so Matra Asamsargaha iti means quotation. So Matra Asamsargaha, if you go and try to see in that Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, they have given number 4.3.15. If you go there, you won't find. It is not there. It is not there. In 4.3.15, it is not there. Then why they are quoting? Because Brihadaranyaka Upanishad has two recensions. So, Kandva and Madhyandina. And therefore, in basically we study Kandva Shakha because Bhashyakara has written a commentary on Kandva Shakha. Shukla Yajurveda's two branches, Kandva and Madhyandina recensions, in that in both the recensions Brihadaranyaka Upanishad appears. More or less similar. Somewhere little difference is there. And Bhashyakara chose to write a commentary on Kandva Shakha. On Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, which is obtained in the Kandva Shakha. Vidyaranya has written a commentary on a Brihadaranyaka Upanishad of a Madhyandina Shakha. But basically, since we study Bhashyam and all, so what is available in all the books, either a Gita Press or anywhere, it is only Kandva Shakha. Now in Kandva Shakha, you go and 4.3.15, you try to see Matra Asamsarga in that mantra, you won't find. So definitely it has been picked up from the Madhyandina Shakha. Because ultimately, it is with us, most of the things are same. A little bit somewhere difference. Shraddha Vitto Bhutva, here it is Samahito Bhutva. When he talks about when Sadhana Chatushya Sampatti, in some mantra in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, in one place in Kandva Shakha it is Shraddha Vitto Bhutva. And in other place it is Samahito in Madhyandina. So we combine. Therefore Samadhi, etc. Samahita, etc. So all this we combine together. Shraddha is picked up from here and this is picked up from there and like that. But anyway, and that you should cancel. 4.4.22 also is given in your book. That you cancel. It has no meaning here. And 4.3.15 of Madhyandina Shakha Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. That you have to remember. Because if you open your book and try to see 4.3.15, you won't find Matra Asamsarga. That mantra in that it is not there. But anyway. So what Vidyaranya wants to convey, that Upanishad very clearly mentions two types of consciousnesses. In the 4th chapter, in the 3rd section, 4.3.14 and 4.5.13 and 4.5.14, 5th section, 5th Brahmana, very clearly mentions which is a Maitreya Brahmana, which clearly talks about two types of consciousnesses in subsequent two mantras. And therefore, there with opposite features. One is Avinashi, one is Vinashi, one is Sasangaha, all the time Sasanga, all the time associated with the mind. Other is never associated with the mind, Asangaha. Sasangaha, Asangaha, Vinashi, Avinashi. And therefore, we have to assume another consciousness. And then consciousness is one alone. Well, then which is destructible, is just a reflection which arises along with the reflecting mind, reflecting medium, and resolves with the reflecting medium. That's it. So therefore Chidabhasa, this is how we have to see. There is no word Chidabhasa in any mantra in any Upanishad. No. You won't find Chidabhasa. Therefore, you will have to, even word Maya, etc., which, the most of the words we use in our Vedanta, you won't find in as such. Maya also you have to see in Shweta, etc. Indro Maya bihi puru rupaha iyate. Oh, word Maya has come there. So this is how it is. But anyway, you have to derive that these are the things. Chidabhasa has been talked about in Shastra. There is a support. Verse 41. जीवापेतं वावकील शरीरं म्रियते न सह इत्यत्र न विमोक्षोऽर्थः किन्तु लोकान्तरे गतिः. So another Purapaksha now. That Acharya teaches us, how to raise a question and answer. So in verse 39, we talked about a vinasha of a reflecting consciousness along with a reflecting mind, reflecting medium. Tani eva anuvinashyati, etc. So this is in Maitreyi Brahmana we talked about, and that Chidabhasa is another name actually of a jiva. Well, in Abhasavada we say jiva is Chidabhasa. In Avachedavada you have to say, well, the consciousness which is enclosed in the mind. Avachinna Chaitanya. Antakarana Avachinna Chaitanya Jivaha. That's a definition in Avachedavada. Antakarana Pratibimsa Chaitanyam Jivaha in a Pratibimbavada. And Chidabhasa is a Jiva. That is in Abhasavada. Because ultimately this Vadas definitely define Jiva and Ishvara. And therefore, this is how we have to define. So, Chidabhasa is here. We are talking about Abhasavada. So, that Chidabhasa is this Jiva. That's how now you will find word Jiva here in this verse now. And that Chidabhasa is perishable, means Jiva perishes. Right? So, Jiva perishes. And then, Purupakshi, well, backed by verse 39, he says in Chandogya, open the book, Chandogya, in 6.11.3, just see. In that mantra, Upanishad gives an example of a tree. And there it says, if you cut the branch of the tree survives. Branch dies, of course. Then, well, if you cut few branches, still tree survives, does not perish. If you cut all the branches and also even the trunk, etc., then tree dies, tree perishes. But then Jiva does not perish. That's what has been talked about. So definitely Jiva apetam vava kila shariram riyate. Jiva apetam. So apetam means devoid of, or let us say excluding the Jiva. Well, this kila really shariram riyate. So always when you say person dies, etc., it means physical body dies. Jiva never dies. That's what it says here. Apetam means excluding. Jiva apetam shariram riyate. Excluding the Jiva, body dies. Means Jiva does not die. Jiva does not perish. Because who is raising this question? Purupakshi. Because we have said in verse 39, if you see, well, Tani bhutani eva anu vinashyati. This Chidabhasa or Jiva appears along with the bhutas and vinashyati, perish along with the disappearance of the Mahabhuta, the mind, etc., reflecting mind. Means Jiva perishes. In Chandogya it is very clearly said, Jiva does not perish. Therefore, and Jiva survives, that we know also. Bhagavan also talked about Vasamsi Jiranani Yatha Vihaya Navani Grunnati Naroparani. And therefore Jiva survives and travel, take another body, etc., transmigration, etc. So Jiva apetam shariram mriyate. Jiva does not die, only physical body perishes. So it is a contradiction. There is a contradiction between Brihadaranyaka Upanishad mantra 4.5.13 and Chandogya 6.11.3. Clear contradiction. 4.5.13 says Jiva is destroyed along with the reflecting medium, mind, etc. And here perishes. And here 6.11.3 says, well, shariram riyate, body perishes. Jiva apetam, excluding the Jiva. Jiva does not perish. Vidyaranya says, well, Vidyaranya smiles first and says, yes, both the statements are Shruti statements and therefore we have to accept. Jiva perishes? Yes. Jiva does not perish? Yes. Both statements are correct. This is how Vedanta is always yo-yo. Everybody, why we can talk like this? Because we have a view. So we can take any point of view. Whereas these people have only a point of view. All the philosophers other than this Advaita Vedanta has a point of view. Whereas we are wholevadi. Wholevadi means when we say everything is just whole, that is Atma. Well, once you say that is a view of the Veda, then from one standpoint we can definitely talk about. Why not? Because we have the whole view. And it's a whole view of the whole. That's all. Therefore, we don't have any problem. So we say both the statements are correct. You can explain in two different ways. First is during Sushti, during the time of creation, well, Jiva does not perish even though, well, physical body repeatedly dies. Means during creation. During creation, you see Jiva never perishes. It jumps from one body to the other body, to the other body, to the other body, to the other body. And so newer and newer bodies are born. And therefore Jiva does not perish. That is, we are saying from now, quoting Chandogya Upanishad 6.11.3. And during Pralaya, etc. also, well, Jiva continues. That we have to remember. But, now second, well, during Videha Mukti, well, definitely Jiva perishes. Because the very reflecting medium perishes. The subtle body itself perishes. Why? Because the very Karana Sharira perishes. If Karana perishes, then the Karyam definitely will perish. In fact, for a Jivan Mukta, the Karana Sharira has become a very, what you can say, very, it has already almost on the verge of going. It has become so old, Jirnaha. That's how we say Avidya Leshaha. For a Jivan Mukta, there is a Avidya Leshaha. Due to Avidya Leshaha, there is Ahankara is there, Prarabdha is there, the Pratiti of all the creation, etc. is there. All is born of Avidya only. So Avidya Leshaha is there. That is how he enjoys the Prarabdha. That's how Jivan Mukti is possible. If Prarabdha itself is not there, where is a question of a Jivan Mukti? And therefore Avidya Leshaha is there. Therefore Karana Sharira is there. But Karana Sharira has become so jirna because all the karmas have been gone, avidya has gone, and therefore vasanas also have become mithya, and therefore the Karana Sharira itself has become very jirna for a Jivan Mukta. And well, once the Prarabdha is over, Karana Sharira also merges into Maya. Whatever is there, impressions and everything, or his karmas, etc., also merges into Samashti, Maya. And therefore Sukshma Sharira also, the medium, also perishes. Sukshma Sharira merges into Sukshma Bhutas, while gross body merges into gross elements, and therefore there is nothing there where this Jiva, the Chidabhasa, will remain now. And therefore Jiva perishes. So Jiva perishes, true. Jiva does not perish, true. Jiva perishes because during Videha Mukti. Jiva does not perish, Chandogya Vakya. Well, that is true. Physical body only perishes during Sushtikala. During Pralaya, Sukshma Sharira is not there. But Jiva is still there. Karana Sharira Vachinna Chaitanyam, Karana Sharira Pratibhimbhita Chaitanyam, which we call Avyakta, etc., which is part of Maya. So it is there. And from that Karana Sharira alone, this Srishti, Sukshma Sharira emerges when the creation emerges. And due to his karmas. And also gross body he gets. So this is how it happens. So Jiva does not die, does not perish even in during Pralaya or during Srishti. Never. Only perishes when the person gains knowledge, and once that Prarabdha is over, Avidya Lesha also is over. Even a Lesha of Avidya was there, that also is over. And therefore, this Anadi Avidya, right? And therefore, even though it is negated, knocked out, its impression as though continues for some time, by which we will have a ahankara, the body, etc. And then there are experiences also, sukha dukha experiences, and the world which generates sukha dukha experiences through contact. All this continues. All they continue till the Prarabdha. Then Karana Sharira, of course, resolves. Sukshma Sharira, Sthula Sharira also resolves. And therefore, there is no medium. Where Chidabhasa will be there, Jiva will be there, and therefore Jiva perishes completely. So no contradiction. There is no contradiction. Both statements are right. Chandogya Vakya also is right, and Brihadaranyaka Upanishad Vakya also is right. So Jiva Petam Vava Kila Shariram Mriyate. So leaving out this Jiva, excluding this Jiva, Shariram Mriyate, Sharira dies. Na Saha. Saha Jiva na Mriyate. Because if you see in a Chandogya, well, you will find that is there, the whole sentence is repeated there. So, Jivaha na mriyate, like that. So, here, of course, in a verse, he cannot mention everything. So, he said, na saha. Saha jivaha na mriyate. Shariram mriyate. So, that is how we have to take. Jiva does not perish. Jiva is immortal. So, that's a paraphrasing Chandogya Vakya. It's not totally quoting. Iti atra, in this particular context, Vimokshaha arthaha. Chandogya does na vimokshaha arthaha. So Jiva does not perish. Oh, therefore Jiva must have got a moksha. No. Chandogya does not talk about this immortality of a Jiva, absolute immortality of a Jiva. Relative immortality in as much as, well, it leaves, once the prarabdha is over, it leaves the body and goes to another body. Naturally, depending upon another lot from Sanchita. Then another lot, then another lot. That way immortality. So iti atra na vimokshaha artha. Don't take vimokshaha. Oh, he got liberated. Therefore, he doesn't die. He does not perish. No. A relative immortality we are talking about. Apekshika nityatvam. Up to Videha Mukti, Jiva survives. That's true. But then, once the Videha Mukti occurs, well, definitely Jiva perishes. Whereas this is regarding Jiva. But what about this consciousness? Well, Atyantik Nityatvam. Atyantik Nityatvam, well, it is absolutely Nityam. No effect of time. And therefore, well, it is not affected by time. Therefore, well, time is basically, time exists due to consciousness. Consciousness does not exist in time. Anyway, so even during Videha Mukti, while consciousness continues, Jiva continues till Videha Mukti. Videha Mukti, Jiva does not survive, perishes. Consciousness survives all the time. Whether one gains knowledge, whether one does not gain knowledge, whether person gains knowledge, Jivan Mukti, well, still consciousness, and Videha Mukti also will be there, still consciousness will be there. It is called Atyantika Nityatvam. Consciousness ever is. Whatever is consciousness. Consciousness is ever is. And therefore Sat is Chit. And therefore there is no question of a apekshik nityatvam, etc. or perishing, disappearing, etc. There is no question. So, iti atra na vimokshaha artha. So far as Jiva is concerned, well, even though we talk about it does not perish, you should not take the meaning of a liberated or liberation, etc. Kintu lokantare gatihi. But on the other hand, it's a traveling into another lokas, another bodies, etc. That's how it is a relative immortality. And this RC, reflected consciousness or this Jiva will continue trillions of cycles of creation. Till gain knowledge, well, Jiva will continue. Verse 42. Naham brahmeti buddhyeta savinashiti chenna tat samanadikaranyasya badhayamapi sambhavat. So with verse 41 now, Vidyaranya has clearly established now existence of a Chidabhasa, and with the help of a support of a Shruti also. Now he introduces another question. Same, Avachedavadi, Purupaksha introduces, and then he answers very leisurely also. So Avachedavadi says that once you say this reflected consciousness, and that is Jiva, you say Chidabhasa has been supported by Shruti, and that Chidabhasa is Jiva, and that Jiva means I, it has a meaning of I, then this Mahavakya you will not be able to explain properly. Because I means now Jiva. Clearly, because Chidabhasa is there, means Jiva is there. And Jiva is none other than this I. So I is Jiva. And your Mahavakya is Aham Brahmasmi. What you have established till this point is Aham Jiva Asmi. I am Jiva. So now Aham Jiva Asmi you have established. Then how your Mahavakya Aham Brahmasmi now will stand? Where will it stand now? So Aham refers to Chidabhasa. Aham Brahmasmi you say, in Brihadaranyaka Aham Brahmasmi is a Vakya, Mahavakya, in 1.4.10. So Aham Brahmasmi, there Aham means Brahman. But you establish Aham means Chidabhasa, Jiva. You said there is a Chidabhasa. So Aham refers to Chidabhasa, which is Mithya. Brahman is the Chit, all-pervading consciousness, which is Satyam. How can Mithya Chidabhasa and Brahman can ever be equated? Aham Brahmasmi. But Aham is this Mithya Jiva, limited consciousness. And Brahman, which is all-pervading consciousness, which is Satyam. How Aham Brahmasmi equation is possible? Now. Well, Jiva can say, I am Jiva. I am Mithya. Chit, consciousness, Brahman is Satyam. You should say like that. Jiva should say like that. So that's a Purupaksha. First is raised. What is Purupaksha? He said here, Aham Brahma iti Jivaha na buddhyeta. So this student, the Jiva, who listens this Mahavakya from the teacher, well, he can never know Aham as Brahman, because he knows very clearly that Aham is Jiva. Aham Brahma iti na buddhyeta. He cannot know. And therefore your Mahavakya will fail. Aham Brahmasmi, Aham Brahmasmi. But he will not understand, because he knows Aham is Jiva. And so you are trying, if you say no, Mahavakya is true, then you are as though equating Mithya and Satyam. Aham is this Jiva, you say Mithya. And Brahman is Satyam. So Aham Brahmasmi equation means Mithya, Aham, and Brahman Satyam, you are equating, putting an equation. How Mithya is equal to Satyam? Explain. So this Jiva cannot comprehend this. Aham Brahmasmi, that Mahavakya understanding cannot, it will not be generated in him. What is the reason? Saha Vinashi. Because it is perishable. Aham Jiva. So that I am Jiva, Mithya, Vinashi. Of course, Chidabhasa we talk about. So Saha Vinashi, it is perishable. So how can I, perishable Jiva, can claim Avinashi Brahman? How can I claim? Even after listening to Mahavakya, which is the equation between them, Jiva and Brahman. How? So, and no, at the time of Videha Mukti, he can claim. Hey, in Videha Mukti, Jiva does not remain to claim. So, where is the question? And while living, his understanding is, in his consciousness, he is Jiva. And while there is no question, while living, he can claim I am Brahman. Then in Videha Mukti, what is there is Brahman, there is no Jiva at all to claim I am Brahman. Therefore, basically, this is not possible. This is not possible. He somehow doesn't like this idea of Chidabhasa. So he wants to destroy Abhasvada in any way. So he is raising this question. Iti chet. So Siddhanti Vidyaranya says, well, if Vachchedavadi, Abhasavadi is raising, Abhasavadi is telling. So, if you say so, if you have such a doubt, tanna, that objection does not stand inquiry. Why? Samanadi karanyasya sambhavat. Badhayam sambhavat. So, Samanadi karanyasya is equal to Mahavakyasya. So, all Mahavakya can be explained in two different ways. Actually, there are many. Sometime I will talk about this, like our Abhasavada, etc. We'll talk about, there are several types of Samanadikaranyam. In Brahma Sutra, in one of the sutra, Bhashyakara discusses that. Actually, there are some 21 types of Samanadikaranyam, but I could not find it difference between 21 Samanadikaranyam. I tried a lot. My hair has gone, half of the hair has gone in that. I could not. But Bhashyakara talks about in Brahma Sutra Bhashyam in one sutra 4 types of Samanadikaranyam. Here we'll take only 2. That's simple. So Samanadikaranyasya is equal to Mahavakyasya. Samanadikaranyam is possible only in Mahavakya. So let's say for Mahavakya there is a technical word called Samanadikaranyam. Anyway, so let's talk about 2 types of Samanadikaranyam. First is a Aikya Samanadikaranyam, Vakyam which is a Aikya Samanadikaranyam. The second one is a Badha Samanadikaranyam Vakyam. So Mahavakya, well, you can take it with a Aikya Samanadikaranyam, and or Mahavakya you can take it with a Badha Samanadikaranyam. Both ways Mahavakya can be interpreted. Now in this case, this our Avachedavadi's problem, Aham, that is Jiva, and Brahman, how that equation is possible, how the Samanadikaranyam is there, Aham, Jiva and Brahman, between them, how there is a Samanadikaranyam. And Samanadikaranyam, I think you know very well that basically, different words in different cases, etc., having even different meanings also, well, still indicate to one object. Actually, Samana Adhikaran. Adhikaran is an object. So, ekasmin vastuni tatparyam. Samana vibhaktikanam padanam. Ekasmin vastuni tatparyam. Ekasmin adhikarane tatparyam. Iti samana adhikaranam. And then, so between words there is a samana adhikaranyam. That's abstract now. Anyway, so in this case, this our problem of Avachedavadi explained by Badha Samanadikaranyam. Badhayam api sambhavat. This is possible. We are saying that Aham is spoken by Jiva, still he equates that I am Brahman. Aham, when he speaks, well, it is Mithya Jiva, he equates with a Satyam Brahma, if possible. Means both word, Aham and Brahman, indicate one thing only, that is consciousness or Chaitanyam. Possible. But it cannot be possible because both are, one is Satyam, one is Mithya. Badhayam. So, Badha Samanadikaranya Sambhavat. So, we'll take that. So, basically, this languages and words have a different meaning according to the context. And so, we generally sometimes don't think, but we put in a vakyam like that and analyze the word meaning thoroughly also. So, but in context we take definitely appropriate meaning without much thinking. And the example first I will give before we go into that. The example we can take when there is suppose a pot, and suppose it drops from your hand, and therefore pot is destroyed, perishes. Pot perishes. So you say pot is destroyed or pot perishes. Now when you say pot is destroyed, do I include clay in the word pot or not? When you say pot is destroyed, you have not thought, as pot has fallen, you said pot is destroyed. Even you have spoken that, you have not thought over, yet you have not included clay. You have not included clay. When you say pot is destroyed, well, in that word pot, you have not included clay. Because you yourself see that, the clay is right there. It is not destroyed. So only when you say pot is destroyed, then in that pot word, you indicate only name and form. Or form, and the pot is a name. So Nama Rupa part only is included. When you say pot is destroyed, by the word pot, you have included only name and form. Very destroyed verb applied only to name and form, not to the content clay. So I exclude the content clay from the word pot. And but you understand without thinking into details. You don't think all these things, but you have done it without thinking also. Only you have excluded content, and you have only taken a name and form. Now another statement, that pot weighs 1 kilogram, let us say, or 2 pounds, etc. Pot weighs 2 pounds. when you talk about 2 pounds, etc., pot weighs 2 pounds. In the word pot, you have excluded clay or not excluded clay. You have not excluded clay. You have taken even content also, the clay, without thinking. So words are used including or excluding the content. You use it without thinking. Pot is destroyed. You have excluded the clay. Pot weighs 2 pounds. You have included clay. And therefore, in our conversation, sometimes content is excluded or included. So same way, word jiva can be used in twofold ways. Chidabhasa can include the chit, content, or so because Chidabhasa, very easiness of the Chidabhasa, reflected consciousness, is from the chit. Even the easiness, the very existence of a Chidabhasa is borrowed from the consciousness. And so Chidabhasa is always with the chit, non-separate, because existence is borrowed. Anything which borrows existence cannot be independent, naturally. And therefore, so Chidabhasa is always with the chit. And therefore, when you use word Chidabhasa with chit or without chit, because it is non-separate. So if Mahavakya is interpreted in one way or in other way. When you say aham is Chidabhasa, well, you can include chit there or you can exclude the chit there. That way it is possible. Either you exclude the chit or either you include the chit, which is the content of the Chidabhasa. If you include chit in Chidabhasa, it's Aikya Samanadikaranyam. If you don't include the chit in Chidabhasa, you exclude chit, then it is Bada Samanadikaranyam. That's it. And so, that is going to be the answer, and that answer we will see on Monday again. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.